Hi guys, you're really welcome here to this channel, narcscon. Sometimes there's no one else around you in your vicinity that knows what you're going through. Believe you me, this community does. You're not alone. Please hold on if you're in any kind of distress. Believe from the experiences of other people here that you will get through it. And for some reason, you're meant to hear this today. I'd like to get into in this podcast why narcissists say such devastating things to us. And one of the sentences that they often repeat is, "You don't love me. You've never loved me. You're only pretending. You only pretended to love me." A lot of different variations of that theme. So I'd like to delve into why would they use such a sentence to someone that they're in a very committed or committed on your part relationship with, someone that they propose to love dearly, and some very close relationships that they get into, that they whack the person with a sentence such as this. Just before we get into that, just going back to the buddy program that we operate on the channel to explain fully, if you want to support Buddy, you leave your name in the comments and you leave your time zone. Look, guys, on the comments for other people who've left comments and maybe reply to some of them, because there's a lot of singular comments left looking for a buddy and there's no response. Now, some of you I know have hooked up, which is great. And you can always, if you're worried about security or you don't want to take a risk, you can always set up a new email and provide that email to the person who you want to buddy up with and give it a try. What can you lose? So let's get into the subject of why do narcissists say such horrendous things to us and hurt us so much, and what's the purpose behind it, and what do they mean when they say something like, "You don't love me"? Basically, normal, functioning, fully functioning human beings, and let me know if you don't agree with this, want to love and to be loved. We don't like to see suffering in the world. We would do whatever we can to alleviate that, be it animal, person, or group of people. It doesn't make us happy, it makes us unhappy. We form our identity around a moral value system. We take from the moral value system or the religious system maybe we were brought up in. But basically, we don't go around wanting to hate people or getting pleasure from their pain. It's also a very important part of how we identify with ourselves and how we put that identity out into the world and how we communicate with others. So basically, it's a very fundamental part of who we are, our moral value around loving and around not hurting. So when a person says to us, "You don't love me," and this is one of the most perhaps important relationships of your life, that's fundamentally very deeply upsetting, confusing, triggering, and shocking. When a normal person comes to the conclusion, so that there are two circumstances and two different ways to look at this sentence, and I just want to explain this to put it in some kind of perspective before going forward. If, say, for instance, you are with a narcissist or have been, and you've had a horrendous time and you've done a lot of education and you've come to the unfortunate and sad conclusion that the person you were with was highly narcissistic or possibly suffered from the narcissistic personality disorder. In that instance, you may come to the conclusion correctly that this person doesn't love you. So after all that's said and done, if you then think out loud, think quietly to yourself, "This person doesn't love me," or you say to this person, in conclusion, "You don't love me," and you walk away from the situation so that it's not said to garner anything for yourself other than to speak your truth and to act on your truth, and you walk away and you leave that relationship having come to that conclusion. That is a valid sentence. Possibly better not to say it to the person, but to acknowledge that is very healthy after a painful journey of discovery of who you were actually with and what you were dealing with. So let's put that aside when somebody says, you don't love me, because you may have said that and you say, well, hey, Paula, I'm not a narcissist. I came to that conclusion and that was valid. And I said it to that person. Do you think I'm a narcissist? No, I don't. And I hope that deals with that aspect of it. A narcissist will say to you something like, you don't love me, for toxic reasons. It comes from a place of extreme emotional immaturity. It's like a child whose parent won't is giving them a punishment and says to them, you can't have this, and the child comes back with, that's not fair, Timmy got that, you don't love me, you're not a good mummy and you're not a good daddy. That's the emotional level of a lot of narcissists. So they perceive when you aren't piling out the supply to them, pumping it out at the rate perhaps you did at the start, when you are exhausted and actually look for your own needs to be met, or just need to back off, it's exhausting you. The narcissist gets really annoyed at that and sees that as a withdrawal of your love, equating supply with love. So if you're not doing what the narcissist, everything that the narcissist wants you to do and more, and 110% agreeing with the narcissist's reality, they will believe then that you don't love them. Not only will they believe this, because they quantify everything. Everything is a plus and a minus. It's black and white. You do as I say, or if you don't agree with me, you don't love me. It's very shockingly simple when you actually really fully understand narcissism and how they think. They can also, even if you are not withdrawing, your supply and you're pumping it out there still, see somebody else who they're grooming or look at as a new supply and think that that person would love them better. So effectively, there's nothing actually you can do to get that switch or stop that switch from going off in a narcissist's mind. It's always going to happen. It's their manipulation, as we said in the last podcast, their manipulation of their reality. So there is no control another person can have on their reality. You can modify their behaviors, understand how to interact with them so that you have a more beneficial communication system if you have to communicate with them and still be in some type of a relationship with them. So why do they say this? Well, one is that they actually at times believe it. They believe it when you start to withdraw or modify your supply output. The other reasons they will say it is to blame shift. If they've done something wrong, such as having an affair, and they do deem to talk with you in relation to their transgression, they will oftentimes blame you for it by saying, well, you didn't love me. You didn't love me enough. And you're immediately it's projected back onto you. It's blame shifted back onto you that it's your fault. And you're going around like a rabbit in headlights saying, how can they say something like that? Where on earth's name are they getting that? But what it does do when you hear those words is it rocks your foundations, because it rocks your perception of actually your identity. It goes that deep because you're coming from a normal, healthy person's point of view, And the person that you deeply love says something like that to you. So of course you introspect. Of course it makes you think about who you are and is it true and how can they say something like that? So it puts you into a spiral of confusion, of self-doubt, of shock, of, gosh, is it my fault in any way? I mean, what the heck was going on? It just really rocks your reality. That's the best way I can say as to how it affects people. It shocks them in relation to their own identity. It makes them introspect, and it actually gives the narcissist a kind of a 50% get out clause, because of course you'll want to compromise, understand why they did it, and there's that abandonment coming up. There's that they're going to leave you for someone else. There's the whole triangulation and abandonment and discard, relationship failure, all coming at you at once. And this is the reason they give for their cheating. Now, if you're in a good place, if you've done work on yourself, if you understand what narcissism is, and you are well on the way to thinking that the person that you're with is a narcissist, you think, there is no way anybody can justify cheating by slapping you back with, it's your fault that I've cheated. But people that are actually in the manipulation, in the emotional spiral that we do all get into with narcissists, not knowing about them and their condition and the way they operate, then it is a highly effective manipulation to blame shift and to make you doubt and to actually trigger you to put out more supply. Now, narcissists can use this after they've transgressed and need to use to do this, use this manipulation in a blame shifting form, but they can also do it within the relationship before anything has, cracked open or the relationship has come apart, in order to, again, make you output more supply, make you work harder, saying to you, things like, well, I love you so much. I would do everything for you. I have done everything for you. And remember, this is gaslighting. They will use words to blur reality, your reality and your perception. Look at the actions. Don't listen to the words. We always say this. It's very hard. It's very, very hard when you're with somebody 24/7 or you're in a close relationship with somebody not to be gaslit by words. They will use this manipulation in relation to, you don't love me in the present. And you will want to write that, and you'll maybe even suggest therapy or, have discussions around it, or try and prove to them that you do love them. You don't want someone you love to be suffering. You think there must be some lack of communication here, and you pour out your love in order to prove to them that you love them. And another time they will say this, narcissists will say this, is when they want to get back with you. They'll say, you didn't actually love me. I felt in the relationship that it wasn't working because you didn't really love me. And I'm with this new person and they really are doing a lot of things that you wouldn't have done for me. And I feel a lot happier. They genuinely love me. And it's, again, a gaslighting and triangulating technique. And then further down the road, when the person that they're with, the new supplies, we call the person in this community, when that's not working out for the narcissist, that person is getting the same old crap and being kind of basically told that you were pretending to love me, you didn't really love me, and this isn't working out. And they go back to you and say, I didn't feel that you loved me, but perhaps there's something there that we can work on. In other words, that you can work on. I mean, the narcissist is never going to be wrong unless they have to use that manipulation and apologize in order to get back in with you. But they'll always work on it as, everything is your fault. They are blameless, they're entitled, their conclusion is the only conclusion. And actually, they are so delusional that they don't reference the past. They reframe the past. They can reframe the past actually and reframe it back again to their first impression of it. Whatever makes their reality in the now, their reality, they're capable of doing and firmly believing in. And that's why you cannot have any kind of a stable, linear, not mind-messing relationship with a narcissist, because they always manipulate reality. So don't be surprised if you get, even a year or 2 years later, the narcissist coming back with, perhaps we can work on the relationship. I just didn't feel that you really loved me. And, if you think that that's the only thing that made the narcissist, your partner, leave you, the fact that they actually didn't think that you loved them enough, then you think, well, hey ho, there's hope. All I have to do is show them that I love them enough, and then we're all good to go again. Don't be fooled by this sentence that the narcissist uses. It is used entirely to manipulate, to trigger you, to give you that self-doubting, and it's to the narcissist's gain. So it is something we fall for, because none of us would like to think as normal human beings that a person we loved didn't feel that we loved them, or that we in some way came up short. Because we have empathy, and empathy at the end of the day, I think, is the distinction between a fully functioning human being and someone who's not firing on all cylinders. So that empathy that we have, and at any time in the past that we've been hurt and not felt loved, we know how deep that pain goes. And that empathy comes up in us, and we do not want to be the cause of anybody else feeling that type of pain. So it's a powerful and very deep manipulation, often used by narcissists to manipulate situations and people. So guys, if you've had that said to you, leave it down in the comments for other people for reference, so that it may resonate. It's an important part of the narcissist's manipulation. Guys, as another channel, as someone said on another channel, slap that like button if you like slap it if you like the content. And I'll see you again shortly. Take great care of yourselves. And please remember, you're not alone. We understand, we get it here. So march forward with that knowledge, and don't ever feel that you're isolated and no one understands. We do. Bye for now.